Okay, so here's a demo of Crosstalk by Vulpus Labs, a fairly simple little module, and what it does is it takes polyphonic inputs and combines their signals in a couple of useful and interesting ways. So at the moment we have just a plain old polyphonic synth, and Crosstalk isn't doing anything at all with it. So as we play a note, you can see each note may appear. Each note we play appears on a different oscillator. It's kind of randomly cycling them between different channels. If we play two notes together, they appear on two separate oscillators. And the first thing that Crosstalk does is it allows you to introduce a little bit of bleed across channels. So if I play a note and then turn this up slowly, you can see a little bit of signal coming in on the other two oscilloscopes. If I just take the filter out for the moment, that brings it up to close to the same volume as the original. It's actually split across two channels, because what Crosstalk does is it finds the channel furthest away from the channel it's bleeding from. But if you have an odd number of channels, it splits it out across two. So, a note. The filter is basically taking off the low frequencies, so you're just getting the high frequencies bleeding through. So every time we play a note, it's bleeding out into some other channels. And the bleed dial controls how much of that is happening, from a little to a lot. The other thing we can do is we can introduce some ring modulation. And what ring modulation does is it ring modulates every channel with every other channel. So the first with the second, the third, the fourth and the fifth, but not with itself. So if I play three notes and then bring up the ring modulation, you'll see that it starts to sound a bit kind of crunchy and a bit darker. If I take the filter all the way out, it's quite distorted. We can filter out the lower notes, and it's just adding a little bit of kind of crunch at the top. The mix button at the bottom allows us to hear purely the signal that's being added in. So if we take the ring modulation out, that's just the bleed signal, and you can hear the filter applying to that. Take the bleed out and bring in just the ring modulation. That's this particularly musical or melodic sound itself. If we blend it back in with the input signal, it's just giving a little bit of kind of crunch to the sound. Take it out, compare the original sound. Modulation in. A little bit fizz there. Let's take the filter down a bit and the ring down a bit. So it acts as a sort of distortion effect, but it produces some additional frequencies that are related to the input frequencies, and obviously the sort of velocity, the kind of energy that's going in, is related to what you're playing. You combine both effects and bring in a bit of bleed as well. These are also modulatable with an LFO via the input jacks next to the big knobs. Let's just demonstrate that. Bring up an LFO. Put that in there. And modulate the filter up and down a bit. So start fairly low and bring it up fairly high. You can hear that modulating. apply that to the amount of ring modulation instead. So we'll keep it at maximum but allow the input signal to take it down. Bring the filter up a bit. Maybe speed up that a bit. You sort of hear that moving a little in the background. And that's it, that's pretty much all it does really. The little switch at the top basically adds a little bit of noise into the bleed circuit. So if I take the ring out altogether, the filter out altogether, mix it purely into the wet signal, you can hear a little bit of noise there. Takes that, adds it in, and that's just again when we're kind of dirtying up the signal, maybe a little bit of noise kind of softens that slightly. So if you just have sort of bleed fairly highly filtered and a bit of noise, that's a nice little sort of high frequency, slightly kind of corrupted version of your input that you can blend in with the input, original input. Maybe sweetens things a little bit. Okay, that's it.